This one is certainly had a lot of money spent on it, but I'm just not. Ms. Vallejo has tried to move herself much more to the center, certainly on immigration. I've said it a million times myself. I think it's a high-risk, medium-reward type of deal. I don't know if it's going to peel off people that supported De La Cruz and for whom they're relatively satisfied with her handling of border issues, but I do think it's alienated a lot of the progressive base that just takes an attitude of, time out, you ran on this humanitarian platform, you were going to you were going to do more for migrants and for asylum seekers and so forth, and now all of a sudden you're in favor of increasing border security funding and all of this. I mean, what happened? So I think, in her effort to try to peel away some De La Cruz voters, I'm not sure that's going to work, but I think she may alienate some of the progressive base that she's going to have if she wants to pull off an upset in this district.
Now, kind of a two-part question following up on that. I know that during primaries, candidates always run to their side, and then during the general, you got to track back sort of towards the middle.
Definitely.
And then, so are you saying that it's more like that more than what you would normally see? And then, if is it just a practical matter? You look around, you look at the polls, and you say Democrats could get killed on the immigration issue. Let me shore up that side of it.
I mean, immigration's always been a vulnerable issue for Democrats, certainly more so with the increased rhetoric about what's happening, at the border, stuff like that. We got to clean up the border. I mean, we live in the borderlands, 20 miles from the Mexican border, and we know that it's been characterized in a way that is certainly not my experience living here.
Not mine either.
For almost 7 years now.
6.
So it's unfortunate that there's not enough scrutiny put to the narrative of, oh my gosh, it's like a big, massive invasion. And when you use that kind of language, that also has a very important impact on how people view the issue. An invasion, that's a lot different from immigration. That sounds qualitatively different.
And, for me personally, I think for Dr. Velez as well, but certainly for me personally, I see it with some of my students who are DACA, who are here on temporary visas, and so forth. I think they live a lot of anxiety, even though, in all honesty, they're some of the hardest working students I've got, some of the hardest working kids. They work their butts off, and yet they've got to live with this over their head because of either, if not their legal status, then the perception of them. So admittedly, when people talk about an invasion, about poisoning the American bloodline and stuff like that, I mean, unfortunately, I get very, very, it is troublesome. But again, to actually answer your question, I think Vallejo, she just sees the polls. She sees, just like Harris did. Harris went from wanting to take a much more progressive approach on border security. Now she's trying to be Miss Border Security. She's followed the Biden administration, toughening up, putting more restrictions on immigration, on asylum seeking, and the whole process. And I think it's a matter of political survival. And as much as we dislike the rhetoric, as much as we many of us dislike that move, the plain fact is, ideals don't matter if you don't have the power to put them into place, do they?
So we're going to swing back around to District 34 real quick. We have Janelle Tanguma, our reporter, is out there at Vicente Gonzalez's watch party, and we're going to see what she has to say.